Will we have a recession or not? We can't quite answer that, but we will talk about what tech jobs are most durable in an economic downturn today on Culture Builder Live. Hey, I am Chris Wink. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Technically, the news organization with a community of technologists and entrepreneurs. I'm also the father of a 1-month-old child, so I have barely slept for most of last month. So if I look haggard and beaten down, that's why. We're going to see how successfully I can do an interview despite that lack of sleep. In my conversation right now with Sergiu Matei, who's the CEO and co-founder of Index, a platform for helping companies hire remotely. Sergiu, thanks for being here.
Great to be here, Chris.
I appreciate it.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah, same. So let's start here with whether we're going to have a recession at all. That's a scary word that gets tossed around a lot. But there are a lot of economic signals that look positive still. And we were so hot as an economy that some slowdown is healthy. So I just kind of wonder, I want to start, you're the CEO of a company, you look at hiring, particularly remote hiring a lot. What are you seeing? What is your thought on looming recession, overhyped or important to talk about?
Yeah, I think this is the most advertised recession.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for 3 years. It feels like the recession we won't stop talking about.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of inefficiencies. Of course, we build a lot, we hired a lot. There was a lot of money out there, and a lot of companies were built not really that we needed, or maybe not, not kind of profitable, not on the right sort of principles. So I think you see some companies going down, or some companies getting out of business. But overall, I think what we see is more like tech workers are more hesitant to make a hire, just because you see this in the media, layoffs. You hear that companies laying off, and then there is companies are more hesitant from one side, and from the other side, they're more cautious and trying to vet the talent, to have the second interview, to really make the hire if there is a real need, or if this is a great hire. So the bar for getting in is much higher, where, let's say 6 months ago, because you want to run fast, you want to hire fast, and you just get everyone in. You're not paying so much attention to a cultural fit, maybe to the skill set. So I think this slowdown is actually happening, but it's a good sign. It's healthy. Companies are looking more into profitability, efficiency, and really making good hires. So I think overall this is good. I think because we're in Europe, I'm here in London. Europe is, and particularly UK as well, Germany is suffering more than US. So I mean, it's hard to say, but I think it's when it's so well advertised as a recession, I think either we go very tough, which is like depression, and recession when your friend will lose a job, and depression is when you lose a job. So either we go very tough, like very hard, which I don't think, it's like low probability, or it's within the next 6, maybe a little bit more months, maybe 8 months, in the summer next year, we're going to get back to less challenges in the supply side, inflation less sort of out of this world, and kind of getting back to the new normal. So you never know. It's hard to predict this future, but I stay positive, and I don't see this really being a very dramatic kind of unfold in the future.
And
for tech,
pick up the last, just on Friday, most recently we had our most recent Bureau of Labor Statistics employment numbers in the United States, and tech added jobs, right? It kind of surprised everyone that we saw a lot of high profile tech layoffs, but net that industry added. So can't say it enough that it's just real messy, and it has been for at least a year, and recession is not guaranteed just because the signals are all over the place. But the question we're after is technology is often seen as a safe haven in the South, but that's because over the last 10, 15, even 20 years in some sense, it's been going only one direction, which has been growth, 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 growth. We have seen some peelbacks with these high profile layoffs. I want to talk to the specific question we're after, what tech jobs feel recession proof. Before I do, just kind of curious, given at Index, you guys must work with a ton of data with remote jobs. Are you seeing any numbers or trends in your own data, like rate of jobs posted, types of jobs, anything that's shifting in your own data?
Yeah, I think we see more senior roles that companies are looking to fill in rather than junior roles like entry level. Then we really see this, Web3 kind of, it was very hot. So blockchain was very hot in the last 2 years. Now it's not that hot anymore. JavaScript, Python, I think those like Java as well is kind of strong, very neat. Ruby as well, a very rare technology. And then less of maybe PHP, less of front end, more like full stack or back end developers, more data scientists, data architecture, DevOps as well. So yeah, that's kind of the signals we would see. And if before pandemic there was like 10% remote, and we were grinding, trying to find this product market fit and trying to educate companies to go remotely and the benefits of that. In COVID, it flipped. It was like 90% was remote. Now I think 1/3 remote, staying remote, will be remote for the foreseeable future, and then 1/3 maybe hybrid, getting people in office for maybe once a month or once a week or twice a week, and then some companies like 1/3 trying to get them in office, sort of only in office, and then you have everything in between, and some companies just don't care. Some come to office, some work remotely, doesn't matter.
You mentioned some languages like Java feel hotter in the data that you're seeing. Some you're seeing softening. You use PHP as an example. Just curious, do you draw any conclusions about why? Like, what can we learn about where technology is going based on the performance of those languages showing up in job descriptions?
Yeah, I think it's on both sides, actually. For example, for the Ruby developers, there are not so many out there. So then companies are looking to change the stack, or when they're starting as a startup, they're looking for Node.js or maybe something else in the backend, just because there is not so much supply of the developers in Ruby. So that creates sort of a cycle where the supply dictates or pushes the demand. And then on the demand side, companies, when they choose to, I was saying like PHP is like English in development, and Ruby is like, I don't know, Swedish or Italian. It's very rare language. And when you want to have a wider pool of developers that you want to choose from, and then you're choosing the language that is also answers to that question as well, besides the technological challenge on itself. For example, enterprise level, we'll look for Java, again, Ruby or .NET, and then maybe if it's startup, we'll look to JavaScript or maybe PHP, just to start and sort of easier to build that product in the first place.
So to some, your comparison, the language comparisons is I've heard versions of that before. It's interesting that PHP is so ubiquitous or so widespread, or at least there's so many people using it, you could call it English. And you described a couple other languages being more narrower languages. So then you're saying in your data, if you are seeing some softening at the most familiar or most widespread language, but continued demand in the most specialized languages, your conclusion is that's happening because if you're building in those more specialized languages, the demand is always there because there's just fewer people who are able to do it. So like if you need a translator in Swedish, there's only so many translators, so the demand is always higher. That's kind of what you're getting at?
No.
Okay, interesting. All right, so we're running short on time already. So let's go to build what you just hit on. Can't say it enough. We may not even have a recession. It's weird out there. So we can speak more generically about if there were to be a recession or an economic downturn, like what are those tech jobs that you're like, these feel like they endure economic hardship or strain? What do you think, or what are you seeing has already stayed strong during this chaotic economic period?
Yeah, I think the first dimension is the industry itself. So, for example, we could see cybersecurity or data protection or data overall, sort of companies building different solutions to manage data, or tools that are very critical, like SaaS tools that are very critical for a company. So those type of industries are less affected or are in demand right now to hire. So this is one dimension. The second one is what we see as well is more senior roles that are more in demand, and companies are looking to hire those world-class developers rather than are looking to hire more junior, more entry level, and coaching them, developing them. That takes time, and they're more eager to hire senior, sort of experienced developers. And then in terms of the technologies, as I mentioned, those new technologies that are rare are as well in high demand. For example, the same Ruby that is rare but as well in demand. You have Python, JavaScript, Docker, AWS on a more kind of DevOps side. So yeah, those are the buzzwords or a lot of jobs. As for now, we see a lot of demand on our marketplace from our prospects, from our clients.
And I mean, I could build on that to note, when you look at those high-profile layoffs we saw around at prominent tech firms, the Metas, the Snaps, the Stripes.
Yes, and I have a comment on that because I really looked into who they fired.
All right, well, that's where I was going to go. So you take it. That's where I was going to go. Take it. So yeah, tell us a bit.
Yeah, I was very curious what is happening besides the word layoff in the media. And there is a lot of, for example, you could see a lot of recruiters, salespeople, customer support. I saw a few engineers as well. My guess, they looked into performance and just realized there is not to the part that to the level they wanted. So I think those layoffs are really like they didn't have jobs for a recruiter or for the customer support. There was not so much demand, so that's one way and sort of one dimension. The second one is even if they got to the software developer, there was not high performing really. So no matter what you do, if you're good at your job, I don't think in tech you would lose the job, or if you do lose, you'd be hired the next day somebody else, because there's always this demand for there is a big difference between the demand even in the recession with the supply. I mean, it was 5 times in the boom time between how many jobs and how many candidates were there just to fill in. Now you will need just to lose 5 times the jobs just to equal the supply we have of people. So you have it. Yeah,
that's a really big point you're making there, and there's 2 things you're saying. One, the distinction between tech jobs, software engineers like building software, and jobs in tech. Many jobs at a tech company. That when we said, if you're a software engineer at a cement mixing company, you have a tech job. If you are in sales at a tech company, you have a job in tech. And you hit on that a lot of these layoffs were those jobs in tech that were not in the most highly coveted technical roles. So unfortunately, when you look at the churn rate, sales and HR, those are people who, like, the best of the best, they still have had layoffs through their careers because those are functions that get like chopped off when companies go into like hoarding mode or into squeezing down. But folks hoard those tech roles as best they can. When there's a high performer, they'll stick them around. That's a fair assessment of what you just said back?
Yeah, I agree.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Sergio, this was great. Thanks for the check-in here. I really appreciate the time. So the takeaway here, I think, is you're great. If you're in a highly technical role, you're probably strong. You probably have a strong position. And also, if you avoid the most experimental jobs, which is tricky. We saw lots of layoffs in and around in some of the crypto and the metaverse experiences. There's a bunch of reporting on how the collapse of the metaverse roles happened. All the experiments were some of the first that got knocked off. If you're on a revenue generating core product building technology and you're a high performing engineer, you have some of the best job security in the world. That fair?
Yep, totally.
Incredible. All right. Thank you so much for this conversation, for being here, Sergiu Matei, the CEO and co-founder of Index.dev, a platform for companies to help hire remote. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Christopher.
Yeah. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.